All right. Wow. Well, thank you for that introduction lead. I got Lee fooled, I guess, but I really appreciate that. And I want to thank, first of all, President Weinman. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this very important, very special day for people, welcoming me to campus like you have. Thank you to the faculty, administrators, all the students I've gotten to meet the last day or so, also over the last couple of years. Everybody been such a great host to me. And again, Dr. Lee Miringoff, I can't thank him enough. As somebody who even before I met him in person, I knew him through his work. He first brought me up here more than 10 years ago. We've made it an annual tradition pretty much for me to come back, talk with his classes. In fact, I can still remember my first trip up here to Marist when we pulled in and just started looking around, took in the whole scene that we're taking in today. And I remember thinking to myself, what an ugly campus. No. Obviously, this is a beautiful place. And I can't tell you how much it's meant to me to be here for all of these visits and to get to know so many people here. But most importantly, I want to say to all of the members of the class of 2025 here at Marist College, just seeing if you're listening, here at Marist University, congratulations. This is a day you have earned. It's a day you've earned, and it's one that I hope you're able to share with your families and all of the loved ones in your life. An incredible achievement for you. I'm sure also this is a joyful and celebratory occasion for all of the parents out there, and not only because the tuition payments are now over, but I hope you're able to bask in this moment with your kids as well. So here it is, graduates, the start of what I hope is going to be a long and fulfilling journey for all of you. Now, some of you, I'm sure, have a pretty clear idea already where you want that journey to go. Maybe you've even started on it. Internships, jobs, networking. And some of you, I bet, are thinking what I was thinking when I was in your seat a number of years ago. What now? So I spent some time thinking about what I might be able to share with you from my own journey that could be useful to you on yours. Although, when I started to do that, what I really started realizing was just how different everything was back when I was starting out. Keep in mind, and keep this between us, this was almost 25 years ago. But I just think of the day-to-day things. You know, when we wanted to watch a movie, we drove to Blockbuster, and we rented a video cassette. We wanted to see a picture. We took our photos to a store. We had to wait for them to be developed. Music came on compact discs. Compact discs were best ordered through the U.S. mail. So it's been a while. And part of this, I think, it's a normal aging thing. Trust me, graduates, you're all going to be feeling it someday. 20 years from now, when we're all half person, half robot, or whatever it'll be then, you're going to be saying, wow, when I was younger, all we had was ChatGPT. And then you'll get all misty-eyed and sentimental like I just did for the good old days. But there's also a point here. There's something that I've learned from my experiences since I graduated, something that I've discovered, and that is that almost nothing is permanent. Now, I've made my career in media. And when I entered the field, newspapers were huge. Everyone read them. Every city, every region, every place had at least one of them. Every day you'd get up, you'd open it up, it would be full of everything. It'd be full of news and information, of course, but also there'd be an arts section, a sports section, a business section. There'd be columnists with opinions on everything from major world events to what was happening right down the street from you. These things were dominant. They created a culture. They connected people. They had been this way my entire life. They felt permanent. And writing for a newspaper was a destination to aim for. You didn't just get a paycheck and a chance to cover something interesting. It came with respect. It came with status. I must have applied for dozens of newspaper jobs when I got out of college. But I never got one. And that ended up being for the best. Because only a few years after I left college, the entire business model that newspapers were built on collapsed. It was crushed by the internet. And all of a sudden, these giant permanent pillars started to cut, to consolidate. Then they started slashing and shrinking, and finally they started vanishing altogether. So many of those newspapers that I applied to for jobs are gone today, and almost all of the ones that are left are shells of themselves. And the world just moved on. Permanence was an illusion. And I've watched this kind of disruption happen all around: technological, economic, geographic, cultural. And if you put it all together, the consequences have been profound and far-reaching. This has changed how we see each other, how we relate to one another, how we define ourselves. And often, that's through politics, and that is the world that I cover. I've made most of my career doing that. In fact, when I was growing up, I was that oddball who was actually into politics. I'd come into high school, this was back in the 1990s, and I'd say, hey, how about that Clinton-Dole debate last night? And people couldn't get away from me fast enough, as you might imagine. Well, that has certainly changed. Everyone it now seems is into politics in some way, passionate about it even. Voter turnout is way up compared to those days, those old Clinton-Dole days I'm talking about. At parties now, if you can believe it, people actually seek me out to talk about politics. Now, this should be a good thing. We used to lament how apathetic people were, urge them to get more involved. So it may sound strange for me to say this, but I worry that the world you're venturing out into has become too political. Because as interest in politics has exploded, what I've watched happen is the divisions in our country grow deeper and become more personal. Politics has synced up with people and their own sense of identity in some ways. Today, we can create our own personalized culture: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, social media platforms, podcasts. There's even old-fashioned cable television. Connection with others has never been so easy and so available. But so much of this new technological world is still shaded with those partisan political colors of red and blue. We find voices, personalities, virtual communities, sources of news and information that fit with how we see the world, that present us with only the worst possible version of the other side, that assure us that we over here are the good ones and that they over there are the bad ones. And it lets us all off the hook. It tells us that we already know everything we need to know about the people who disagree with us. And worse, it gives us license to dehumanize them, to disparage them, and never, ever to turn the lens back on ourselves. People will talk to me, come up to me, they'll share their political views with me. And how many times do I hear some version of, those people on the other side, I don't know what's wrong with them. I just don't understand them. And what I want to say back is, well, you could. In moments like that, I think back to the book To Kill a Mockingbird. Had to read it back in high school, and it left an impression on me. One line in particular. When Atticus Finch sits down with his young daughter, and he gives her some advice for life. He says, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. That's something we can all do every day. We can do it when it comes to politics, yes, but that's just one thing. There is so much in this world, the world you're walking out into, that is just baiting you to look at others with contempt. We all feel it sometimes, myself very much included. But when we get that urge, we can catch ourselves, we can stop, we can think, what might they be seeing that I'm not seeing? What might they be feeling that I'm not feeling? What could they be experiencing that I haven't? This is a challenge for you. It's a challenge for your generation. Amidst all the chaos and all the change, you have the opportunity to show us the way, to show us how to preserve our common humanity. Now, I'm giving you some of the downsides of change and disruption here, but there is an upside. It's a massive, massive upside, and it's one that you stand to benefit from like no one else before. So I told you a minute ago that I never landed one of those newspaper jobs when I got out of college. So what was the first job that I did get? Well, it was as a reporter for a website, Lee was talking about this, that covered New Jersey state politics. Now, that probably doesn't sound like much now, but 20-something years ago, it was basically unheard of. I remember describing that job to people. I'd say, no, we don't publish anything. It's not like a newspaper. It's not like a magazine. I don't have a physical product I can show you. What I write, it just goes up on a website, and it kind of looks homemade. And people would look at me, and they would say, well, yeah, that's nice. Now, what are you going to do to earn some money? But I had actually caught a huge break because it turned out that this was the future. The site grew, imitators emerged, a whole new industry in the media world flourished. And as newspapers started falling away, it hit me. We were what they were being replaced with. I look at what I get to do now on election nights. I get posted up next to a giant interactive touchscreen. I narrate the action as the results flood in from counties all across the country. I love doing it. I tell people these days, I'm not so sure about politics, but I love election nights. They've always captivated me. It's the pace, it's the urgency, it's the suspense. My mind works best with numbers, too. That's probably part of it. In other words, I couldn't think of a role that's more perfectly suited for me than what I get to do on election nights. And it is not a job that I could have ever aspired to when I was in college. It didn't exist. The technology didn't exist. So I realize now how lucky I've been. This perfect job, which could never have existed before in history, became possible just in time for me to have it. So I'm excited for you because you're walking out into a world where finding what I found is more possible than ever before. You can discover what you're truly passionate about, and you can find an outlet for it. And if it doesn't exist right now, well, it's probably coming. The speed of change is only increasing. In the years and decades ahead, you're going to be navigating the most disruptive period ever known. Good luck with that. But disruption will come in all shapes and sizes, and it's not always going to be paired with new opportunities and upside. There's another reality. Things that you take for granted, that you draw comfort from, and that you rely on, they will fall away without warning. It'll be disorienting. It'll be unnerving. It could even be scary. But that gets to the other part of what I've learned over the years. Because when I said at the start of this speech that almost nothing is permanent, that means that some things are. And these are the things that can sustain you through disruption, through turbulence, through turmoil, maybe even a rainstorm. What kinds of things am I talking about? Well, I can see it in the faces here today. It's the love your parents have for you. Could be the bonds of your closest friendships, the connection between you and a soulmate, maybe the fulfillment of building your own family someday, the peace from faith in God. If I can impart one thought on you, it's this: there is a permanent in this world. Seek it, recognize it, treasure it. You're in for a heck of a ride out there. Enjoy it and squeeze every last drop you can from it, but please just don't forget, hold on to the things that last. Congratulations again, class of 2025. The world is yours.